Ancient sources report that, to avoid retribution, Caesar had to flee Rome and live in hiding for some time. During those uncertain months, he likely benefited from discreet support within his family or from old friends of his father, enabling him to evade Sulla's henchmen. Eventually, he obtained clemency from the dictator, thanks to pressure from influential figures, sometimes said to include the Vestal Virgins or certain powerful aristocrats. Sulla is said to have then uttered a famous warning: "Beware, in this young man there are many Mariuses." With this terse remark, he acknowledged Caesar's temperament and ambition, foreseeing that this would-be adversary could one day threaten the fragile balance of the Republic. For Caesar, this period of persecution was a lesson in duplicity and sudden power shifts. He grasped that one must never depend exclusively on a single man's favor, but rather weave a lasting network of support. Moreover, this narrow escape strengthened his resolve and his sense that he was destined for greatness, akin to the Alexander the Great he had admired since adolescence. Once Sulla's threats subsided, Caesar sought to pursue a public career that would showcase his talents. His first significant post was that of military tribune. In this capacity, he left for Asia, then partially under Roman control, to serve on various military fronts. This experience went beyond mere theoretical learning and plunged the young patrician into the realities of troop command, logistics, and military diplomacy. The campaigns in Asia, sometimes directed against pirates or small rebellious kingdoms, did not match the scale of the wars he would later wage in Gaul. However, it was there that Caesar developed his organizational sense and ability to motivate men. He also earned a reputation for fairness and firmness among his subordinates, laying the groundwork for the loyalty he would one day inspire in his legionaries. In the Roman army, officers who both protect their soldiers and reward them with booty and recognition quickly gain immense prestige. Caesar soon realized that the fate of many battles often hinged on the personal bond between a general and his men. At the end of his service in Asia, Caesar returned to Rome with enough military experience to run for his first magistracies. After holding minor offices, he was elected quaestor in 69 before Christ, a position that took him to further Spain, Hispania Ulterior. This was a turning point in his career. Being a quaestor gave him the chance to manage finances and administer a province, while forging new connections with local elites. The Iberian Peninsula, undergoing deep Romanization, proved to be a promising field for ambition. A significant episode occurred during this stay in Hispania. Faced with the statue of Alexander the Great, Caesar realized how far he still had to go to match the glory the Macedonian had achieved at the same age. By age 33, Alexander had conquered an empire stretching from Greece to the edge of India. Caesar, then over 30, had only some minor offices and a few oratory successes to his name. Sources claim he felt shame and wept over how meager his achievements seemed in comparison. But in Caesar, ambition always outweighed resignation. This realization was not a break, but a spur. He swore then to inscribe his name in history, whatever the cost. In his interactions with the local administration, he demonstrated diplomatic skill, earning respect from various Spanish cities. He also began to see how powerful fiscal policy could be. By redistributing funds fairly or intervening in disputes, he built significant local popularity. When he returned from this quaestorship, Caesar was already perceived as a gifted orator and a generous man, always ready to champion popular causes. Conservative circles in the Senate viewed his rise with suspicion, aware that a charismatic patrician with popular backing could become dangerous. Memories of Sulla's great purges were still fresh, and many had not forgotten how brutally the former dictator had crushed populist opponents. Since Sulla's death some 9 years earlier, the laws he had passed to maintain absolute senatorial authority had gradually been weakened. A new generation of bolder politicians was emerging, and Caesar was among them. Back in the capital, Caesar put into practice what he had observed and learned. To climb the political ladder in Rome, one had to attract public attention, win admiration, and negotiate advantageous alliances. He therefore organized games and spectacles, often financed by himself or through loans from wealthy friends or patrons who stood to benefit. These festivities, ranging from gladiatorial combats to chariot races, drew huge crowds. Ordinary Romans, fond of entertainment, applauded the young contender's initiatives. Meanwhile, Caesar built a network of support through marriage alliances that connected him to various influential families. He had married Cornelia, Cinna's daughter, whom he had bravely refused to repudiate despite Sulla's threats. After her death in 69 before Christ, he entered other marriages, Pompeia in 67 before Christ, then Calpurnia in 59 before Christ. But in Rome, marriage was never just a matter of sentiment. Beyond personal affection, these unions served as political alliances, providing entry into key circles of power. In a Rome where political advancement often depended on patron-client relationships and kinship, strategic marriages were among the most powerful levers of social promotion. The populace began to recognize Caesar's name, not only for his legendary origins, he still claimed descent from Venus through Iulus and Aeneas, but also for his public stances. He positioned himself as a defender of the plebs, inheriting Marius's legacy in his own way, but avoiding outright conflict with the conservatives. This stance earned him support and allowed him to seek further public offices. His presence in the forum was increasingly noted. He was reported to speak with persuasive eloquence, moving popular assemblies or unsettling older speakers. The episode of Caesar's kidnapping by Cilician pirates in 75 before Christ was a key moment in his early military and political career. At just 25 years old, while traveling to Asia Minor, he was captured by these pirates, who demanded 20 talents of silver for his release. Far from panicking, Caesar showed disconcerting calm. He mocked the sum demanded, finding it far too low for someone of his stature. The pirates, incredulous, ended up indulging his whim and asked for 50 talents, a huge amount, which Caesar promised to pay without difficulty. During his captivity, the future conqueror displayed an almost detached attitude, even demanding silence from his captors when he wanted to sleep or write. He spent nearly 40 days among them, but never in the posture of a victim. Ancient sources say he joked with them, going so far as to promise he would have them crucified once free. They laughed, thinking him an overly self-important noble, but they did not realize he never joked about his dignity. After the ransom was paid and he was freed, he gathered an allied fleet within less than a month, hunted down the pirates, and captured them. The sentence? Exactly what he had promised. They were all crucified, though in a final gesture of mercy, he had their throats cut first, sparing them a prolonged agony. This was not just vengeance, it was a statement to Rome and to anyone who might threaten his authority. Whether embellished or not, this episode greatly shaped Caesar's public image, a man of sang-froid, with biting wit even in the face of danger, and above all, a leader who never forgave an insult. Thanks to this bold move, Caesar enhanced his standing in Roman society, where the scourge of piracy was still a collective trauma. Rome still remembered maritime raids that had reached the Italian coasts only a few decades earlier. In one swift act, Caesar proved he was more than just a young orator or an ambitious upstart. He was a man of action. From then on, his career soared. He delivered speeches in the Forum, won new supporters, and climbed the rungs of power at a rapid pace. Still, his true dreams of military glory were only beginning to stir. Soon, he would not be content with minor commands. Rome alone would not satisfy him. Soon, he would aspire to lead legions across Europe, to enter history not by words alone, but by conquest. Far from a setback, his kidnapping only cemented his rising legend. Caesar did not forgive. Caesar did not forget. Already, beneath his patrician refinement, one could sense the iron grip of a leader who never backed down. In the early 60s before Christ, Julius Caesar aspired to climb the rungs of Roman power. In a republic where political influence partially depended on military prestige and wealth, two figures stood out clearly. Pompey Magnus enjoyed exceptional fame from his conquests in the East between 67 and 62 before Christ, from which he had brought back immense riches and secured new revenues for the republic. Crassus was already known for being the richest man in Rome, having built his fortune by buying up confiscated properties at rock-bottom prices under Sulla and multiplying lucrative investments in real estate and money lending. Facing these two giants, the Senate remained divided. Certain conservative senators, the optimates, feared the rise of generals who were too popular, while others, more attentive to popular demands, were open to supporting ambitious men who promised land distribution or agrarian reforms. In this context, Caesar, though growing in renown, still lacked the stature to impose his will alone. He noticed that Pompey and Crassus, despite their power, encountered hostility from a Senate alarmed by these two men's accumulation of wealth and the admiration of the plebs. Pompey wanted to have his actions in the East officially recognized and obtain land grants to reward his veterans, crucial to maintaining their loyalty. Crassus wished to pass laws favoring his financial interests and strengthen his economic clout. Caesar saw an opportunity to negotiate an alliance that would benefit everyone. In the summer of 60 before Christ, he discreetly proposed a private agreement, later known as the First Triumvirate, though it was not an official magistracy. To cement this agreement, Caesar, who became consul in 59 before Christ, sealed a marriage between his daughter Julia and Pompey. This family tie solidified mutual confidence. The three allies agreed on shared objectives. Pompey received Caesar's legislative support to ratify his reorganization of the eastern provinces and secure land for his veterans, vital for retaining their loyalty. Crassus, for his part, ensured the adoption of measures serving his vast financial interests, notably in the East, where he aimed to further expand his fortune. As for Caesar, he gained the backing of Pompey and Crassus to be appointed governor of Gaul after his consulship. He dreamed of conducting major military campaigns there, amassing wealth and renown on par with Pompey, and shoring up his popularity among both the plebs and the soldiers.